While firefighter Matt was conducting a safety inspection, a forklift operator accidentally punctured a sulfuric acid storage tank with a single slip of the hand. Corrosive liquid instantly gushed out. The driver lost consciousness instantly after inhaling a small amount of acid mist. A nearby worker suffered worse, his shoes melted away, leaving him glued to the spot. Excruciating pain pierced his bones as he knelt in the acid, wailing in agony. The unfortunate worker soon stopped breathing. Matt sprang into action, dragging the unconscious driver away while shouting at the manager to stay clear of the acid mist. He immediately called for help. As Matt dragged the injured man into the office, he discovered the driver's daughter was also present. He instructed the girl to seal the door cracks with cloth strips. After confirming the driver's steady breathing, Matt glanced outside and his heart sank. The manager hadn't escaped. He lay dead on the ground. Worse still, cell phones had no signal, and acid fumes were seeping into the room. The revived driver revealed a landline phone in the adjacent room. Matt immediately dismantled the ventilation duct. The girl could just squeeze through, but Matt pulled her back. The adjacent room was already engulfed in acid mist. As they sealed the vents, Matt noticed acid dripping toward aluminum components. Contact would trigger a violent explosion. He scrambled for a solution but made little progress as the aluminum began burning. In the critical moment, Matt swiftly used a fire extinguisher to freeze the wall, finally smashing an escape route. He had the girl crawl out for help while he stayed behind with the unconscious driver. The fire department arrived swiftly after the call and used a breaker to free them. Matt collapsed on the ground, both relieved and shaken. Today, he had snatched 2 lives back from the jaws of death. This expectant mother never imagined that immediately after giving birth, her eyes and nose would start bleeding uncontrollably.
Opal, keep your eyes open for me. Opal! 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 Opal!
The story began when the emergency team received a special request. Opal, a pregnant woman, had been in labor for over 27 hours. After her husband called 911, she harshly rebuked him, insisting on a natural home birth. The rescue team leader examined Opal and found her temperature at 39.5 degrees Celsius, 103.3 degrees Fahrenheit, with a heart rate of 140 beats per minute. Persuaded by the leader, Opal finally agreed to go to the hospital. Bizarrely, the baby that had shown no movement for 27 hours suddenly began labor the moment they entered the elevator, just as the elevator malfunctioned. The team doctor examined Opal and discovered her cervix was fully dilated. The leader ordered an immediate delivery. Ophelia broke down, refusing, insisting the child should be born in a warm environment filled with scented candles, not a cold elevator. With her husband's encouragement, Ophelia finally cooperated with the delivery. With a loud cry, a healthy baby boy entered the world. Just as the couple embraced and wept, a drop of blood suddenly fell onto the infant's forehead. Ophelia then began bleeding from all 7 orifices and immediately lost consciousness. Paramedics diagnosed postpartum hemorrhage causing coagulation dysfunction, requiring urgent blood transfusion. Firefighters arrived to find the elevator trapped on the 17th floor within a sealed shaft surrounded by concrete walls. Captain Owen immediately ordered a wall breach rescue. Rescuers raced up to the 17th floor and pinpointed the location. As they began chiseling through the wall, the hospital delivered the blood bags just in time. But Opal's bleeding was relentless, her pulse fading rapidly. To make matters worse, the wall proved unusually solid, causing the drill bit to snap. Captain Owen decisively swung a sledgehammer, furiously pounding the wall until he finally carved out a lifeline. By the time the transfusion began, Opal showed no vital signs, yet the paramedics persisted with CPR. Miraculously,
Don't die, Opal. Our baby needs you. He needs his mom.
the mother regained consciousness as her newborn's first cry filled the room. Watching the family embrace and weep, the rescue team exchanged smiles. Once again, they had snatched life from death's grasp, preserving a whole family. The fire chief recognized the danger at a glance and sprinted across the crowded beach. A child playing in a sandpit had been buried alive by a collapse. Firefighters rushed to the scene and immediately stopped the father from digging with a shovel. In quicksand incidents, manual excavation is essential. The rescue team arrived with specialized wooden planks. While digging by hand, they built a protective wall with the planks to prevent sand from flowing back and reduce pressure on the boy's chest. When a small hand emerged from the sand, everyone dug faster. Within seconds, the boy's head broke free, but the sand still compressed his chest, preventing breathing. 7 minutes had passed since he was trapped. Every second now was critical. As everyone held their breath in anticipation, the boy suddenly took a deep breath. He had finally pulled himself back from the brink of death. Lisa was preparing to run a bath, unaware that her tap water was heavily contaminated with methane. Just as she lit an aromatherapy candle, the lighter sparked, instantly engulfing the bathroom in flames. It turned out that the earlier 2.8 magnitude earthquake had ruptured gas pipelines, allowing methane to enter homes through the water supply system. Multiple neighborhoods witnessed the bizarre spectacle of water spouting flames from taps. Trapped in the smoke-filled bathroom with windows warped shut by explosions, Lisa faced dwindling oxygen. The dispatcher noticed her home used an independent sewage system, meaning the water in her toilet tank remained uncontaminated. Following instructions, Lisa inserted a straw into the toilet drain pipe to access fresh air. She acted immediately. Just as Lisa was about to perish in the flames, firefighters broke through the window and descended from above. Two novices docking a yacht for the first time accidentally flung the stern jack into the sea. Worse still, the clueless partner yelled for Jack to swim over without shutting off the engine. Jack's leg struck the propeller, instantly staining the water red. Firefighter Kelly, on vacation, swiftly dove in to rescue him while colleague Della raced into the cockpit. Kelly swam desperately toward Jack, blocking his path to the propeller, while Della shut off the engine. By the time they hauled both men aboard, Jack's thigh had been shredded to the bone by the propeller. Della swiftly tied his coat around the wound to staunch the bleeding. Only then did Kelly breathe a sigh of relief. Even on vacation, he found himself at a rescue scene, perhaps the inescapable fate of a firefighter. The fire station was experiencing bizarre events. All equipment activated automatically. The alarm system suddenly blared. The aerial ladder raised and lowered on its own. Even the decommissioned coffee machine went into overdrive. More astonishingly, no one was operating these machines. Breaking news flashed across TV screens. An intense solar storm had struck Earth an hour earlier. An explosion on the sun's surface unleashed a massive electromagnetic pulse. Now, an airplane hung upside down on high-voltage power lines. The wires could snap at any moment, releasing lethal currents that spread everywhere. The rescue team arrived swiftly, rapidly deploying airbags. Captain Kevin contacted the pilot. Interference from the solar storm meant residual-induced currents remained deadly even after power was cut. 3 survivors were trapped aboard, but Mark was gravely ill. Kevin directed everyone to jump one by one a terrifying height. Yet their only chance, William leaped first. But Lisa refused to abandon her critically ill husband Mark. Kevin reassured her over radio, promising all efforts to rescue Mark, and pleaded with her to think of their 2 children. Lisa jumped, tears streaming down her face. Kevin then donned insulated gloves and began climbing along the high-voltage lines. The uncontrolled current threatened catastrophe. He finally reached the cabin, fitted Mark with protective gear, and lowered him down with a harness. The moment Mark landed safely, the current surged violently in the distance. The others screamed for Kevin to jump. In the nick of time, Kevin leapt from the cabin mid-air. Firefighter Blake's pupils instantly contracted as he looked up, and he immediately sprinted toward the scene. The deputy captain sensed danger and quickly followed. Upon reaching the platform, Blake saw an unconscious man lying on the subway tracks as the train arrival announcement blared. Blake frantically waved his arms, signaling the train to slow down. To make matters worse, the tracks were electrified. The deputy captain shouted hoarsely, "Climb up!" The rushing air from the approaching train already flapped their clothes. Just before the wheels passed, both men retreated to the platform and collapsed. Bystanders exclaimed, "That move was absolutely badass." The tree trimming crew was pruning street trees when their aerial work platform vanished. Susan, the thief, gloated triumphantly. She had just raged at the workers, calling them tree butchers for pruning the trees. The crew explained the trimming was for safety, but Susan couldn't care less. Seizing the moment, she slipped into the cab and sped off through the streets with the worker still in the bucket. The worker, thrown from the cab,
You might want to send an ambulance, maybe more than one.
When the crew arrived, they saw Susan's hair standing on end. The captain shouted for Susan to stay in the truck. Immediately, the crew first contained the fire and then notified the power company to cut the electricity. Finally, the farce concluded with Susan being taken away by police. Linda merely wanted a new hair color, but her head swelled to alien proportions, trapping the hairdryer on top. Experienced firefighters diagnosed a severe allergic reaction, while the stylist insisted the dye was all natural and harmless. Watching her head continue to swell, the captain decisively ordered the use of cutting tools. Linda even insisted they avoid damaging her hairstyle since she had an audition that afternoon. Firefighters carefully cut through the equipment, perfectly removing the dryer and rushing Linda to the hospital. The most dramatic twist? Linda actually passed her audition that afternoon. Guess what role she landed? Can you believe astronauts secretly smuggle personal items into space? In dire straits, he shared a cigarette with his crewmate. When feverish, he downed a shot of vodka. For space repairs, He just swung a sledgehammer and got to work. Turns out a power system failure turned the space station into a giant freezer. They used ducts to blow warm air from the spacecraft into the station. Victor dismantled a heat sink from the circuitry and repurposed it as an electric heater. Victor handled the wiring while Bauer adjusted the solar panels to face the sun. The heater warmed up quickly. As time passed, the ice began melting. Bauer used the air duct to blow droplets aside while Victor caught them in a bucket. After a day of sub-zero work, Bauer concealed his 38 degrees Celsius fever. Yet no cold medicine could match the effect of a shot of vodka. The next day, the two continued cleaning electrical components. Despite extreme caution, a single droplet drifted into their spacecraft. While Bauer conducted external inspections, communication with ground control abruptly ceased. Sensing something amiss, Bauer rushed to the observation window. Inside, chaos reigned. Victor fought the flames but was blown aside by the gushing air. Bauer dashed toward the hatch, only to find the interior engulfed in flames. The injured Victor miraculously survived. The fire was extinguished by depressurization, but the spacecraft was completely destroyed. The two were now confined to the frigid space station. Bauer reported the situation to ground control. The fire had destroyed the spacecraft's oxygen supply system, and the ventilation system was also rendered useless. The commander convened a meeting with senior officials. To prevent the Americans from boarding the space station, they must destroy it. However, the commander requested 3 more hours to find a way to rescue the crew. Calculations showed the astronauts could manually detach from the station. Using explosive bolts, the spacecraft would plunge toward Earth, landing in the Indian Ocean 68 hours later. The station's remaining oxygen would sustain only one person for 68 hours. Divided between two, each would have 34 hours. This meant only one astronaut could survive. The commander contacted the experienced Bauer alone. Victor was injured. Only Bauer could execute the subsequent operations. Facing this order to sacrifice himself for his country, Bauer remained unusually calm. After ending the call, he looked up at the lights and thought of his home on Earth, tears streaming down his face. The space agency brought Bao'Wu's wife and daughter to the control room for a final call. Separated by thousands of miles, it was a farewell between life and death. Yet Bao'Wu remained surprisingly composed. He took out a cigarette to ease the tension, which puzzled Victor. But Bao'Wu revealed the truth. Victor immediately rejected the plan. If he were to survive alone, he could never face his family again. He would live forever in guilt. He proposed that if they could repair the damaged sensor and restore power to the space station, it would generate enough oxygen to hold out until rescue. Bao'Wu decided to take the gamble. The two donned their spacesuits and ventured outside to install the footplate. Victor secured both men to the station's surface with safety tethers. Thus, Bao'Wu swung his heavy hammer, embarking on the most primitive repair job in space. But this metal pipe hadn't even been dented by a meteorite. How could mere hammering possibly fix it? Time ticked away. The space station was about to turn away from the sun, plunging into darkness. Both men felt their hearts sink. Watching the sun gradually vanish below the horizon, the two men felt their hearts sink, just as despair set in. The damaged components suddenly detached. The sensor panel lit up green. The massive solar panels began reorienting toward the sun. The internal electrical systems fully restarted successfully. At that moment, the American space shuttle had flown behind them. Watching the successfully reactivated space station, the astronauts saluted them through the window, offering their sincere admiration.